Hi there. Welcome to the series Studying to Learn by the American Mathematical Association of Two-Year Colleges. My name is Allison Dillard, and I'm an adjunct math professor at Irvine Valley College. Unlike a lot of math professors, I was diagnosed with cancer a few years ago and had to take a year off of teaching. And I was fortunate that I recovered quickly. I was sort of blessed with this year off and gave me time to reflect on how it is that we teach math and how students can set themselves up for success in their math classes. I also used that year to write my first book, Crush Math Now, and my second book, Raise Your Math Grade, which led to other books in the Allison Loves Math podcast. And I'm thrilled today to be here to share with you some tips to learn, to study to learn math so that you succeed in your math classes. So whether you are a student who is failing their math class and just wanting to pass, or maybe you're passing, you're just getting by and you want that A, or maybe you already have an A in your math class and you just want to level up and make sure that you're set up to succeed in future classes. Whatever your goals are, I hope that these tips will help you. All right. So tip number one is embrace difficulty. All right. All things are difficult before they are easy. This is something that students so often know about other things, but forget when it comes to math. Oftentimes students think math it's almost like it's magic, right? They think some people are good at math and I'm bad at math. Some people just naturally get it and I don't. And so therefore I'm never going to get it. And what they forget, or maybe didn't know in the first place, is that math is difficult before it's easy. Like anything that's challenging. Even when you were a baby and learning to walk, walking was difficult before it was easy. When I wrote my first book, it was difficult before it got easy. All right. So all things are difficult before they're easy. That is part of the learning process. That means that you're learning something that is challenging and worthwhile. That means you are growing. All right. And you're spending your time on something that's worth spending your time on. All right. If all of math was just so easy that you didn't have to think about it, you didn't have to try, then really, like, what are you spending your time on? You're not actually developing new skills. So all things are difficult before they're easy. Embrace it. That is part of the learning process. All right, number two, math is just a skill. All right, just like soccer, just like learning to play the piano, just like learning how to write a book or start a podcast, right? All of these things are skills. And how is it that you develop a skill? Right? How is it that you learn how to improve in soccer? Well, you have to practice, right? Nobody expects to show up to a soccer game and do really well and score lots of goals without ever having practiced, right? And so the same thing goes for math. How do you improve in math? Well, you practice, right? You do the math homework, you show up to class. And just like soccer, if something's not really clicking, something's not really working, sometimes you have to do some extra practice on the side, outside of your soccer practice. And the same thing goes for math. If the homework isn't sufficient for you to learn whatever it is you need to learn for your test, then sometimes you have to do some extra work on the side. All right, but math is just a skill, just like soccer, just like piano, just like writing a book. All right, and you have to practice to improve. Number three, make mistakes. All right, don't be afraid to make mistakes. All right, be afraid not to try. All right. And I know this one's tricky because so often our math classes are designed so that our entire grade is based off of not making mistakes, right? It's how well do you do on the test, right? And that's based on not making mistakes on your test. And we can't avoid that if that's the way that the class is structured, right? But it is important to acknowledge that making mistakes is part of the learning process, right? You have to try, and in trying, you're going to make mistakes. And then you're going to learn from those mistakes, and then you're going to improve. All right. So when we're talking about practicing, right, math is just a skill, just like soccer. Well, when you're practicing soccer, right, you're going to make mistakes. You're going to mess up dribbling. You're going to mess up passing. You're going to mess up, when you're shooting, you're going to make mistakes, right? And so the same thing goes for math. All right. Don't beat yourself up when you make mistakes. Know that it's part of the process. Learn from them. All right. And, yeah, just don't be afraid not to try. All right. That's the big thing that can hurt you, is being so afraid to make a mistake that you don't even try in the first place. Last but not least, Focus on change. All right. Now, my book, Crush Math Now, is actually a book that is based entirely on changing what you're doing in your math class until you get the results that you want. Who was it? I'm totally blanking on who it was, but there's a quote that is, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. And so often I see students who are in college now, and they're approaching math the same way that maybe they did in junior high, and it's not working, and they're struggling in math, and it's incredibly stressful, and they're not getting the results that they want. And if you're not getting the results that you want, change what you're doing. Change what you're doing to study. Change who you're studying with. Change when you're studying. Change what things you're reminding yourself at the beginning of studying math, right? To get into the right mindset. There's so many different things that you can do to change how you approach math. And so that's probably the best, most general advice is keep making changes until you're getting the results that you want, all right? Don't focus on the results, focus on what you're doing and what changes you are making. All right, so those are the tips for today. Number 1, embrace difficulty. Number 2, math is just a skill and you improve with practice. 3, make mistakes. It is a natural part of the learning process. And 4, focus on change until you are getting the results that you want. Now, if I can leave you with one final thought before I go, kind of goes back to that year that I had to take off of teaching, and that is life is short. So dream big, learn some math, and go build the life of your dreams.